Boston Bruins defeat the New York Islanders 4-3 in a shootout here at TD Garden on Tuesday night. I'm Conor Ryan of BostonSportsJournal.com, here to give you a few takeaways from today's win. And this is a game that, Jim Montgomery said it right after the game that when he went through the schedule during the offseason, was speaking to Don Sweeney. Both of them mentioned this as a game where you look at the factors, the travel, the Bruins coming back from a road trip, coming from Las Vegas, playing against an Islanders team that even if they missed the playoffs last year, stingy team, tough to kind of grind away 2 points against them. This was a game that they kind of marked as was going to be a challenge where a lot's not working in your favor with, fatigue, matchups, all that stuff. And he was really, you listen to Jim Montgomery after this game, for them to get 2 points, grinding their way through a shootout victory against a team like the Islanders, it almost seemed more impressed with a game like this than maybe a matchup against an Avalanche team that's kind of been dinged up in the past or other kind of the more marquee matchups. And it was impressive. Like you could tell really early on, the Bruins just didn't have it in the first period, didn't have their legs, even though Jake DeBrusk has those 2 goals in 19 seconds, really kind of overshadowed was a pretty lopsided first 20 minutes for Boston. I mean, if it wasn't for Linus Ullmark, who was pretty strong again, Bruins easily could have been down 2 or 3 goals in that first period. But kind of grinded their way through it. Was a typical Islanders game. Tough to kind of get inside ice against them, even without Ilya Sorokin in net. Varlamov had some really good grade A stops during regulation. Islanders are a tough team to kind of break the puck out against, tough to kind of get moving in transition with numbers. So not a whole lot has changed, even if, Barry Trotz isn't there behind the bench. They're still a really tough out. And for the Bruins to, come back from that road trip and kind of stick with this team, grind things through and to come away with 2 points in the shootout was impressive. I mean, you look at kind of the way that game was trending, and it's whether it's, guys like DeBrusk, even with a few bounces, which it's kind of a fluky game all around anyway. There was a lot of bounces and ricochets and tips and stuff like that. So no real sustained, I think, ozone pressure for either team. But to have a game like that where DeBrusk continues to, pile on the points, Derek Forbort gets rewarded with a shorthanded goal, which I don't think anyone predicted going into this game. Ullmark, even with 3 goals against, could have easily been 6 goals when you look at just the number of high danger chances the Islanders had early on. Just, and again, another impressive, I think, all-around win for the Bruins, capped with DeBrusk and Pastrnak having 2 really impressive shootout goals and Ullmark standing tall down the other end of the ice. So really encouraging for the Bruins to, wasn't a lot of highlight reels other than maybe Pasternak's goal, but it's a situation where the Bruins did what they needed to do coming back, those dreaded, first game back at home after a long trip. Those are always the games you have to kind of be worried about. And the Bruins stuck with it against an Islanders team that loves to kind of make things tough for teams, especially ones that are maybe a little bit tired, need some time to get their legs going. So really impressive in that regard. And also, I think maybe one smaller takeaway from the game is Pavel Zacha has stepped in for David Krejci at that 2C spot. Krejci expect to be back pretty soon. I think Montgomery said during morning skate, if this was the playoffs, Krejci's probably good to go from his lower body injury, but being precautious, they wanted to keep him out. And Zacha's been up to the task. Like, I don't want to get, too far ahead in terms of where exactly a guy like Zacha fits in terms of, a 2C for the future or what have you. But he's definitely, answered that call early on in terms of what he's brought in that top 6 unit with his playmaking ability, board work, details, all that stuff that you've seen throughout the season. But now that he's in that top 6 role with a guy like Jake DeBrusk, it's really worked out. So again, another really impressive win for the Bruins in this one. We'll have all the breakdowns, quotes, columns, all that stuff over at BSJ. So please subscribe over at BostonSportsJournal.com to get all your info from tonight's win. Thanks, guys.